back again. So yes, today we're gonna talk about what is Docker. So this video is for to understand what exactly the Docker is and why we use Docker and why there is a need of using Docker. Okay, so it's just going to be a short overview about the technology, and in the end, I'm gonna mention all the curated resources which you guys can follow. Okay, so and curated resources mean it's not going to be a whole list of resources. Okay, just 2 3 documents through 2 3 handwritten notes by me and 1 2 course which you should go through it if you are really interested to learn Docker and to go beyond. Okay, so yes, why I'm focusing on the resources, because whenever you get started with a new technology, if you want to learn something new tech, then it might be some overwhelming. Okay, at starting it might be overwhelming because whenever you try to Google something like, okay, Docker, so you get thousands of resources, thousands of video on YouTube, and it might get complex to select which one you should start with. Okay, like what are the best resources for this. Now there are a lot of resources, and how I'm gonna choose the right one. So yeah, at initial stage of learning every technology, that happens, because that thing also happened with me. So that's why the resources are important, which resources to follow. So that's why in the end I'm going to mention every resources, and also I'm going to put in the description, so that you have to just follow this curated resource. You don't have to go through a lot of things, and you will cover everything about Docker, trust me. Okay, so let's start it. So what is Docker? Okay, so when you hear Docker, like what exactly is Docker, like why we use it and stuff like that. So Docker is a containerization tool, you can think of it. Okay, and now when it comes to like what is containerization, so containerization is just like a container. Okay, we have seen container, lots of container. Okay, and you also gone through the Docker symbol. Okay, like there is a whale, and on the top of the whale there are container. Okay, so container is like a virtualization. Okay, it's like an isolated environment, which is running our application on the same shared operating system. Okay, by using the same shared operating system. So whenever I say container, it means an isolated environment. Okay, and it is in your host machine only, but it is isolated. Like your host machine doesn't know there is an isolated environment. Okay, and isolation means like completely which is not in touch, like isolated. Okay, so containerization is like your application running in an isolated environment known as container while using the same shared operating system. Means it's going to use the operating system which your host machine is having. Okay, and that's why it is going to be a fast. So there will be no resource, what do you call it, resource allocation, or the divided division of resources will be there. Okay, and isolation is like in our school there always was an isolation row, isolation boys. Okay, so teacher don't used to teach that entire row. Okay, teacher used to show her bag and used to teach the entire class. So I hope you guys got what is isolation. So isolation means like it is isolated, completely out of touch. Okay, you don't know what it is. Okay, because I've been in that row. Okay, I was there in the isolation boys. Yeah, so isolation is basically like you can do anything what you want to do, but nobody is going to bother you. Okay, so that's how it was. Like our entire row was allowed to do anything, and no teacher is going to bother us because we are isolated boys. Like they don't give a f about us. Okay, so that was my case. So I hope you guys got what is isolation. And what is a Docker. Docker is a containerization tool. Okay, so what does a Docker do? So basically Docker will it will bundle up all your application dependency, binaries, configuration file, whatever things which I've used, or things which are important to run your application, whatever application you have made. Like these are the things, these are the I'll give you an example of, like while you are cooking, you are making one, cooking something, and for that cooking you require a recipe. Okay, so because of that, okay, for cooking you need a recipe, right? And that recipe will depend upon the ingredients, right? If you are cooking something, you require ingredients, right? So that's how it is. Okay, so Docker, what does Docker do? Like it will bundle up all your application dependency, configuration file, everything in the form of container. Okay, so it will create one isolated environment which is container, and it will bundle up everything in that container so that your application can run smoothly anywhere. So that's what it is. It's going to, I hope you got what is Docker. Docker will package your application and all its dependence in the form of container, and it will make your application go live on this container. Okay, so the thing is now, we will have a question like why we use Docker. Okay, what is the need of Docker, why we use Docker, and what are the exact problem which is Docker solving. So we use Docker because we don't want any dependency problem in our application while sharing that application with somebody else. Okay, now imagine if if you downloaded everything on you, like it's a Python Django application, and you downloaded Python, you downloaded Django, you install on your local machine, and now the application which you want, it's running. Okay, the Python Django application is running on your machine. Now it's time like you want to share this application with your friend. Okay, and what will you suggest, what will be your approach? Like, I want that application to be working on my friend laptop. Okay, so of course you're gonna tell him like go install this, install that, and then do some configuration, and then you can start. So what if I told you like you don't have to go through it, you don't have to go through the installation about of anything, like you don't have to install Python, you don't have to install Django, nothing, but still you guys can share that application, you can run that application. So how cool it is, guys, you are getting it. Like, with the help of Docker, you don't have to install anything, any programming language. Okay, and you can share that application very easily and smoothly. So so what happens, like if we are talking about distributed application microservices. So microservices are like like dividing your application component into separate different part. Okay, like you got one application, okay, a big application. So what we do, we divide that application. Okay, we divide application component. Okay, so what are the components? Component will be like the front end, back end, network, the storage. So we divided that application in different component. That component are containers. So we will put our back end in one container, our front end in one container, our storage in one container. So that's what microservices is about, and that's what we do. Okay, so this is called a distributed application. So this is what microservices is about. So if you are having that kind of application, and if you want to share that application, you have to make sure that application will work fine in that other machine or in any other machine which you want to work your application. Okay, so for that we require a Docker. So what does Docker do? As I told you, Docker will package everything. Okay, the dependency configuration file, whatever libraries you have used, whatever that application requires to run. Okay, to run successfully, to start successfully. Okay, so it will package everything in the container, and it will give you an image. So after that, sharing that image, the other person can run that image, and he will have that application. So you guys got the whole understanding of what Docker do. Okay, and why we use Docker, because we don't want any dependency problem. Okay, if we are sharing that application, we don't want any application or dependency problem, so that after sharing that application, it will work fine. It will work fine on that other machine. It was right working, like it will work the same way it was working on your machine, and after sharing that application, it will work fine on that machine. And it is so easy to share application, also if you share your whole application to the other person, and now he's installing, he's going to the installation. But what happens when you share an image? You created a Docker file. Okay, then you build an image, and now you're sharing that image to him. And you might get question like how we gonna share that image, right? Like what will be the way of it? So there is a thing called Docker Hub repo. Okay, so you can go to the Docker Hub, you can check it out. So Docker Hub is a database, it's a directory where you will get number of images. Okay, and you can download that image. And if you want to share some private image, the personal image which you created, then you have to make an account on Docker Hub. Okay, so after creating an account, you can put your image on that, and you have that what do you call, authority, that you want to keep your Docker Hub repo public or private. So if you keep public, everybody can have access by writing the image name. They can download it easily. So you also guys check it out what Docker Hub is. So as I told you, Docker Hub is a directory or database which will contain lots of images. Okay, so whenever we make a Docker file, we download images. Okay, so that images are getting downloaded from the Docker Hub. Okay, so that's how you're gonna write a Docker file, then you're gonna build an image, and you can upload that image to Docker file. Okay, then you're gonna upload that image to Docker Hub. So you just have to tell your friend that okay, this is my account, this is the name of my image, you can download it online. So he will just go to the Docker Hub. No, he don't have to go to the Docker Hub, he just have to write a one command. Okay, he have installed Docker in it. Okay, he have completely installed, he just want to install one application which is Docker. Okay, so he have installed the Docker, so he just have to write the one command which is docker run. That's it. Docker run, then he gonna pass some tag, the name, and in the end he have to mention that image name which is there in the Docker hub. Okay, so after mentioning the name, the Docker will automatically download that image and it will give out the container, so that application will be running on his machine. How cool it is, like just by writing a Docker run command, the application will be running in his machine. So that's why we use Docker, so because it solves your dependency problem and everything. Okay, so yes, I hope you guys got it, the clear understanding about Docker, what is Docker and why we use Docker and what are the problems which is solving. Okay, so in Docker, now you got the understanding about what Docker is and what are the things you should cover in Docker, right? So whenever we get started with Docker, there are three important things in Docker. First one is the Docker file. Okay, so you have to go through the how to write a Docker file depending upon the application, like how the syntax is of Docker file. So you have to go through a Docker file. Then comes the important thing, which is Docker image. So after writing a Docker file, so what is a Docker file? A Docker file will give you, it will define the image. Okay, basically Docker file, whatever you will write in Docker file, it will be the definition of that image. Okay, and what is the image? Image, you can think of image as an, uh, image will help you to run the container. Okay, so image will describe how the container will run. Okay, so basically after writing the Docker file, what we do, we build image based on that Docker file. Okay, so like, Docker file, what the image, what is going to do, like image will automatically read all the instruction from the Docker file and it will help you to run the container. Okay, and with a single image you can run multiple containers. So first, what is important is Docker file. You have to write a Docker file depending upon the application, how the application is in. Okay, how the application is depend upon. So you write a Docker file, then you build an image. Okay, after building an image, the last thing we do is we run that image. So after running the image, we will get a container. Okay, our container will get created and inside that container, application will be running. So I hope you got what is Docker, what is Docker image, what is Docker file, and what is Docker container. Okay, so yes, so in Docker you have to go through this whole thing, and then comes the Docker architecture. So Docker architecture is very simple. First, there is a Docker runtime where you have to go through the run C and container D, what it is. Then comes the Docker engine, Docker daemon engine. Okay, Docker architecture, there comes the Docker runtime, and then comes the Docker daemon engine. So Docker daemon engine will interact with the API. Okay, so it will listen all the requests which is made from the Docker client, and it will help you to manage the Docker object, which are the images, container, networks, and volume. Okay, and then comes the orchestration. So orchestration are mostly the tools. Okay, like Docker Swarm and Kubernetes. So that will be covered in next topic. But Kubernetes is the next topic. Why we need Kubernetes? Because if there are a lot of containers, so how you will manage that container, that microservices, for that we require Kubernetes. Okay, and if there are, like if there are few containers, you can easily manage with Docker Swarm, Docker Compose. Okay, so when it comes to a lot of containers, at that time you require Kubernetes. Okay, and so yeah, this is basic Docker architecture. You have to go through it. Then also you have to go through is Docker Compose .yaml file. Okay, so this is the important file. Now what we do in Docker file, we just write the code, the the directories, the command for just a one application. But Docker Compose file will give us the flexibility, or it will give us the benefit of, you can merge 2 3 Docker file into it. Okay, just by writing a Docker Compose .yaml file, you can add 2 3, what do you call, a Docker file, plus you can add some network volume. So yes, while learning Docker, you have to go through the what is Docker network, how it is created, then you have to go through the Docker Compose file, then you have to go through the Docker network, so that a Docker volume. So these are the basic stuff. And like after mentioning the resources, you will go through it, you will get to know what is the Docker network and what is the Docker Compose and what is the Docker volume. So you don't have to worry about, it's just a basic stuff. And when you get into the Docker, I bet you will enjoy learning Docker, because Docker is really cool and awesome, and with Docker you can do a lot of things. Okay, and then comes the, yes, so these are the only thing which you have to cover. So what you have to cover, what is Docker file, Docker image, Docker run, Docker container. Then you have to cover Docker architecture. Okay, so that Docker architecture, Docker runtime, the Docker, what is Docker daemon engine, and orchestration. and then volumes and network. So these are the only things which you have to cover in Docker. Okay, after covering this, you guys can rocket in the Docker. So what else I'm gonna say was, yeah, so there are curated resources mentioned. So there is one Udemy course which is the best course to learn Docker. Okay, so I'll tell you the duration of that course, so you guys can figure out how fast you want to cover the Docker. Okay, so the duration of the course is that course is available on Udemy. Okay, I have mentioned the link in the description. So the you can complete this course just within 2 weeks. Okay, just within 2 weeks of after giving 3-4 hours of a day, you can complete that course in just 2 weeks. Or consider, give you more time. Okay, because if you really want to learn from the basic and you really want a good understanding about Docker, I would suggest that you should go slow. Okay, just complete that course in 15 days. It's just about 21 or 22 hours flow. So I suggest you guys go slowly. Okay, just complete that course in 15 to 3 weeks. Okay, 15 days to 3 weeks, as per your time, as per your speed, and just give 3 to 4 hours per day, and make sure you practice. Okay, because in that course there is a lot of project included. Okay, so what you can do, you can practice exactly by using that project. Okay, so it will give you a nice understanding about how Docker works and how things work internally, and also you'll get knowledge about Kubernetes. So in that course, Kubernetes is also included. So you will get nice overview about what Kubernetes is. And basically after completing this course, you will get familiar with Docker, and you will you can containerize any application for sure. So make sure you go through that course. And if you really want to dig deep into it, and if you can't buy that course, you can watch on YouTube. Okay, so for on YouTube you can watch Kunal Kushwaha channel and Tech World with Nana. Okay, so these are the two channels which I mentioned in the description, and on that channel you will get everything about Docker, Kubernetes, DevOps. So these are the two YouTube channel which I was watching uh, continuously. And even if I didn't get any concept, or if I didn't understand anything, I used to make sure that I go through that concept. I watch 10 to 15 videos until and unless I get that exactly how things are working. Okay, so make sure if you don't get some concept, if you are stuck at some concept, so you make sure you watch that videos of another tutor for watch till until and unless you get what is there. Okay, so what exactly the concept is. So make sure you also watch some content of some other tutor. Okay, on YouTube, because on YouTube there is number of content. Okay, so make sure you type your topic which you are which you want to learn in deep, and make sure you watch different videos of different author, or not author, of different tutors. So you will get it more. And there might be a chance you will get to know some facts and some more information about it while watching different videos of different tutors. So that was my strategy. And within 15 days you will get to know what Docker is, what Kubernetes is. You can learn to make your own Docker file. So yeah, so everything will be there in the description. I hope you got the understanding about Docker, containerization, what is isolation. Yeah, so that's it. I'm gonna keep this video short. And yeah, see you guys in next video. Take care. Bye. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share. Bye.